it's pretty hard to monetize a podcast if you don't really know what's going to be happening. Like, you've got no control over your audience. You've got no control over going to be listening or when they're going to be listening or if they're going to be listening. But you can control who you interview.
Welcome to the Next Level Income Show, where it's our goal to take your income, your investments, and your life to the next level. I'm your host, Chris Larsen. If you haven't yet, get a copy of our book for free at our website, nextlevelincome.com. That's www.nextlevelincome.com. Just click on the book link, and I'll even send you a copy if you put your address in. On today's show, we're going to be tackling a cool topic with Dave Dubeau. Dave helps syndicators and fund managers land $100,000 investors by turning podcast interviews into high-trust sales conversations. And now he's even working with others that have other high-ticket sales items, coaches. So if you're listening, you say, well, that's not me. Have a listen to this episode, because Dave's going to talk about how you can use a podcast to generate leads for your business. His system is built for busy real estate investors who are tired of chasing leads and just want consistent, qualified conversations. His team then handles the outreach, the booking, the production, the promotion. All you do is show up, interview your prospects, and work on the conversion. If you've ever tried content marketing, funnels, or networking and still struggle to get high-paying clients, Dave's going to show you how to make every podcast conversation count. And we're also going to share how you can get a free copy of his new book. Dave, welcome back to the show. How you been?
Big Chris, I'm doing great, my friend. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely.
Here on Next Level.
Absolutely. A lot of listeners know that my wife's from Canada, and you're joining us from British Columbia, our northern neighbors up there.
Don't hold it against me, man. But yeah, that's where I'm from. That's where we're based.
I got you guys are like family. I consider you guys like family, despite all the crazy stuff that goes on politically.
This too shall pass.
That's right. Absolutely. But no, I'm excited to have you on, and we're going to talk about, kind of a little bit of a different subject than we normally get into on the podcast. But I think it's something, as we get into kind of new media, from a business perspective, it's just been amazing, Dave. You've been doing your property profits podcast. That's a lot of P's.
It is
for several. How many years you've been doing that now?
Well, since 2018, whatever that is, by the time people are watching this. So it's
7 years.
In podcast years, that's a long time.
It is. Yeah, we started ours in 2018 too. You might have beat us to the punch, because we started recording in 2018, but we kicked off the official episodes the beginning of January 2019.
Well, hats off to you, my friend, because I think the official stat is most podcasts never make it past episode 7. So you're doing amazing.
How about that? Well, likewise. Yeah. So yeah, you have walked the walk in the new media world, Dave, but I'd like you to share, before we get into that topic, I'd love you to share a little bit more about your background, what you do in the real estate space, because we've got a lot of overlap there.
Okay, great. Yeah. So I am from Canada originally, but after I graduated from university, I went and lived for about 13, 14 years in Latin America. And actually settled down in Costa Rica. I had a language training company down there.
Amazing.
Got
That's
married,
one of our
had
favorite
kids.
countries. Love it.
It's a beautiful country. Got married, had a couple of Costa Rican kids. And then in 2003, I decided to drag my poor little Costa Rican family kicking and screaming from tropical paradise to British Columbia. And everybody goes, Dave, especially Canadians, they go, tropical paradise, Costa Rica, frozen lands, Canada. Why the heck would you do that? Well, Chris, when you got kids, your perspective changes a little bit. So our kids were getting towards school age.
Yeah.
And my ex-wife and myself decided, you know what, Costa Rica is great, but Canada is going to be a better place to raise our kids. So we uprooted, we moved up north, and I had to start all over again from scratch. So I'd left Canada when I was 21 and had been gone for however many years. And then when I came back, I was pretty much starting from scratch. Like, I didn't have bad credit. I had zero credit. And I hadn't been able to sell my business in Costa Rica, so I didn't have very much money. And I've been self-employed for a whole bunch of years, so I was pretty much unemployable. So it was either get a job at McDonald's or figure out something entrepreneurial. And I don't know, you're kind of young, but you might remember those. You remember those late night infomercials?
Oh, yeah.
Like 2 o'clock in the morning. You too can get rich in real estate with little or no money down.
Oh yeah, you had George Allen. You had who was the rap guy? The what was his
I don't remember
that
well,
guru?
the Kool-Aid that I bought into was a guy named Ron LeGrand.
Ron LeGrand. I remember
Yeah.
Ron LeGrand. Yep, all
Yeah.
the suits and everything. Yep.
So yeah, so I sent away for this course, and at that time, I think I got a whole bunch of VHS cassettes and all this kind of
Oh
stuff, and
yeah.
big box stuff, and went through that. And that was my first kick at real estate. So from about 2003 to 2005, I did 18 deals in 18 months, creative, low money, no money down type deals
Yeah.
in the small city I live in British Columbia. And then one thing led to caught the eye of an up and coming real estate guru up here, kind of the Canadian version of Kiyosaki,
Oh wow.
and started working with him because I've always been a fan of marketing. So I helped him with marketing for a number of years, helped him grow his company from 3 employees to 128 and seven
Wow.
branch offices and about $200 million in sales and all this kind of stuff. So that took my time for quite a while. Did different things in real estate on and off, creative stuff, rent to own type stuff, and then got into doing a bit of syndication work, getting into apartment buildings, and then got into using my marketing skills to raise capital. And then the last dozen years, it's been really focused on helping other people raise capital for their deals. Because I realized along the way, I suck as an operator. That's not my strong suit. I'm not the guy you want talking to your tenants and fixing your toilets or any of that kind of stuff. That's not my strong suit. So I focus on the marketing side of things. And the last dozen years, like I say, we've been working with hundreds of private clients. Cumulatively, we've helped them raise well over $350 million in capital for
Incredible.
their deals. And
Yeah.
that's the space I'm in.
Yeah. No, incredible. And yeah, so you started in residential as we did, it sounds like,
Yeah. Yeah.
Dave
Creative,
and
low, like the
oh
weird
yeah.
stuff. Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, and it's interesting, we've seen things cycle. Um, now we're starting to see some of that creative stuff come back. And even in the commercial space,
Yeah.
we've seen a lot of loan assumptions and we're
Hmm.
stepping in with our private credit fund, for instance, to bridge the gap with some of those. But why did you decide to start the podcast back in 2018? I'm curious about how that started.
Yeah. Well, I was taking some training, a guru training or something like that, and they said
Mm.
podcast is a good thing. A couple of reasons I started the podcast, Chris.
Yeah.
One was I was getting sick and tired of having to come up with new content all the time to keep in touch with people on my list. So I thought, hey, if I
Yeah.
start a podcast, that will fill that content gap, and I'll interview smart guys like you, and you'll say smart
Thank
stuff,
you.
and that'll be great
Yeah.
content for my list. So that was one reason.
Yeah.
The other reason was I wanted to connect with other people in the space like
Yes.
yourself and potentially do some sort of cross promotions or joint venture partnerships. And then the other reason originally was like everybody else in podcasting, I thought, hey, if I do this, maybe I'll get lucky and be like Joe Rogan and grow this massive following. And then a whole bunch of those people will realize he was a smart guy and they'll reach out to me. And I was hoping that they'd connect with me and I was hoping that it'd turn into business. Unfortunately, it didn't work out that way consistently, Chris. Was hoping and not a heck of a lot happening. So my podcast was a traditional type thing for the first number of years, sporadic, weekly, every weeks, couple of week here and there. So it was kind of very hit
Gotcha.
and miss for a number of years
Yeah.
until I was listening to another podcast for about 3 or 4 years ago now. And the young guy on there ticked me off because he's so darn young and smart, smarter than me. And he said this. He said, "You know what? Podcast, I really don't care that much about audience growth. My whole podcast, my goal is I want to interview the exact kind of people I want as my clients.
Yeah.
I want to make them look good, feel good, sound good, start that relationship and convert that into a sales call.
Oh,
And then I'm not
interesting.
going to
Yeah.
do one a week.
Yeah.
I'm going to do multiples of these a week. So my whole focus is on interviewing my avatar and interviewing as many of them as possible and converting those into sales conversations. And that's light bulb went off and I said, you know what? That is brilliant because otherwise, my experience anyhow, Chris, is it's pretty hard to monetize a podcast if you don't really know what's going to be happening. Like you've got no control over your audience. You've got no control
Right.
over going to be listening or when they're going to be listening
Yeah.
or if they're going to be listening, but you can control who you interview. And
Absolutely.
that completely revolutionized my business. Over the last 4 years now, using my podcast as a direct lead generator has been the number one way that I've been creating business for myself. And for the last year and a half, almost 2 years now, we've been working with real estate syndicators and fund managers and capital raisers, helping them to connect with, on average, 20 accredited investors every single month
That's
using
solid. Yeah.
podcast platform idea.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and that is quite innovative, and because you don't think about that, right? You're like, oh, we're actually going to have our clients or future clients or prospective clients on the
Yeah.
podcast and interview those, and it's a little different, but no, we want to hear perspectives of others. It's like testimonials, right? We want to hear the experience and the perspective of other people. So, especially in the alternative investment space, right, Dave? It's like, you're like, am
Well,
I,
here's the
yeah,
thing. It's really different, Chris, and it took me a while to get my head around this, right?
yeah,
So, for example, when we're working with a client, let's say a perfect example, we've got a client, he is a medical doctor
yeah,
and a syndicator.
yeah,
So obviously his happy place is talking with other medical professionals. So
yeah,
we did not build him a show that said, "Hey, Dr. Franco's syndication show," because no other medical professional wants to be on that show, right? We built him a show called uh, what is it? Leveling Up for Medical Professionals, right? That's the name of the show. So leveling up for medical professionals. And we go out, we find him 5 or 6 doctors, dentists, anesthesiologists, medical pros every single week. And we get these interviews booked in for Dr. Franco, and he's a busy guy. So we got
yeah,
basically 2 days a week, 2 hours each. That's his interview times.
yeah,
And he does these interviews back to back. They're 20 to 30 minutes each, pretty short and sweet.
yeah,
And that way we're getting him connected with 5 or 6 doctors every single week. But here's what's in it for the doctor, right? It's not about real estate. So we bring them on as the guest, and Dr. Frank interviews these guys and gals, and he really talks to them about what is their secret sauce when it comes to their professional success. What do they do a little bit differently? How to where they are? What does personal success look for? How do they balance work life, balance, all that kind of good stuff.
yeah,
And then start talking a little bit about financial success. And this is where we start to work our magic, right? So towards the end of the interview, Dr. Franco will ask the other medical doctor, Dr. Smith, sounds like things are going really, really well with your practice. Now, a lot of busy doctors in our position, we're making very, very good money right now, but it's active income. And a
trading
lot of
time for
doctors are
money. Yeah,
looking at, hey, how can I keep that level of income high without having to work so hard for it? So,
yeah,
Dr. Smith, what are your thoughts about that? So, you notice that he doesn't try to push real estate on them right away. He just wants to
sure,
open the conversation. And then whatever Dr. Smith says, great. He remembers that. And then when they stop the recording and they're still on Zoom together in the Zoom green room, so to speak, then he'll circle back. He'll say, Doctor, it sounds like things are going really well with your practice. Now, you mentioned that you're starting to dabble a bit in crypto or stocks and bonds or whatever you said. How do you feel about the kind of returns you're getting with those investments? Is that something that you're 100% happy with the returns and the stability and the security? Or is there maybe some room for improvement?
yeah. Very
What do
easy.
you, what are they going
That's
to, what
the
are they going to
easy.
say?
That's nobody's thoroughly happy with anything,
Yeah, even
especially investment
you
world.
could
Yeah,
interview Warren Buffett. He's got everyone to say there's always room for improvement,
right.
right?
Yeah, and
Oh,
that is
cool.
a great, yeah, and that's a great, spending my career decades in sales. That's really how I think is the most effective way to approach a sales call, right? Is to talk and let the client ask a question and really just let the client explain, what their biggest challenges are, what's working for them, not from a technical level, but
Hmm.
from, a broad level. And,
Right.
I think that's where salespeople get it wrong. They come in and they say, hey, here's my widget. Here's my investment opportunity. Here's my product, whatever it may be. And then they're dealing with these objections on the back end, right, from the surgeons. Where
Hmm.
I used to walk in with my sales reps and they'd say, okay, like what are we selling today? And I go, Nothing. And they're like, wait, what? Like, I gotta have this
You need a
product or that
commission.
product. And I
Yeah.
go, no, we're actually going to take nothing in. And they would be like, their jaw would drop and they're like, this dude knows, like, doesn't know what he's doing.
Yeah.
And we would just talk to the surgeons about their practice and their family and what their goals were. And then they'd say, oh, yeah, I'm having a really hard time getting home to my family at 4 o'clock because my surgeries are running long. And, the hospital's upset with me. And it's like, well, what if we could cut your surgery time down by 30 minutes per case? And they're like, that'd be great. And you're like, okay, let's talk about, how this system will do that for you. And they're like, yeah, I would love to hear that. And, next thing you know, it's like, well, you're helping them get what they want, and they're sharing
Exactly.
they're sharing their challenges on the front end, without actually, like, quote unquote, selling them on something. You're providing a solution
Well,
tailor
that's the
made to what they're
beautiful
looking
thing about
for.
the podcast too, Chris, is,
Yeah,
when we approach people this way, instead of trying to convince Dr. Smith to jump on a sales call with us,
right.
what we're saying is, hey, Dr. Smith, we think you're great. We'd love to have you as a guest on our show.
Yeah,
It's going to get you some free PR exposure. Bottom line is, we don't
yeah,
say this, but this is it's going to elevate your status. It
yeah.
really is. You're going to be featured as an expert guest on the show. So it really is kind of an honor for that person to be a guest on the show. So we
Yeah,
lead with the giving hand. Instead of
yeah.
saying, hey, I want some of your time to pitch my stuff, it's like, hey, I want to elevate you. I want to feature you on my show as my special guest.
And they probably get to share it with their friends and colleagues
Exactly. Who and
and
then
friends
who
and
are their friends and colleagues? More doctors.
your avatar, probably. Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah,
We make it easy for them to do that as well. We create
yeah,
shorts and reels and social media
yeah,
content and LinkedIn articles and Facebook posts and Instagram posts for them so that they can,
yeah.
they
Amazing.
can really share it.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
Dave, I mean, you're talking about using this for, syndicators, operators that are trying to raise money, but this seems like a concept that could work more broadly for
Yeah.
business owners in a lot of different spaces. Are
Yeah.
you doing that, or what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah. We're starting to branch out into working with what I call high ticket coaches, consultants,
Yeah.
advisors, those sort of folks, people that, have a high ticket product or service, and it's kind of a relationship based sale.
Yeah.
This works really, really well because, as you know, Chris, after having doing hundreds and hundreds of interviews, when you bring somebody on your show, that is a massive shortcut to creating a relationship, creating that whole know, like, and trust factor, creating rapport, creating reciprocity.
Oh
It's
yeah.
really
I've developed
shortcuts.
friends that I've had for years from pot. I just ran into a friend up in New York City at a real estate like summit from one of my
Yeah.
partners, and I saw the dude, name's Arnold. Awesome story. Guys from Soviet Union, ended up immigrating here. Multiple, serial entrepreneur, incredible guy.
Mhm.
And yeah, it was like, we felt like we've known each other for years.
Yeah, because of an
After,
interview.
yeah, because it's like you
Exactly.
get pretty deep into some stuff pretty quickly. It's pretty wild.
Exactly. So that's
Amazing.
the beautiful thing about a podcast.
Yeah, so let's talk about your book. We're going to have the link in the show notes here, 20accreditedinvestorsbook.com.
Mhm.
Why did you write it? How does that integrate into all this, Dave? And what are our listeners going to learn if they get that book?
Yeah, well, I mean, if you are a real estate capital raiser and you're looking to connect with accredited investors on a consistent, regular basis, then this is a great book for you. I wrote it for that exact avatar for real estate syndicators and fund managers, and it
Why do I
walks
not
through.
have it yet, Dave? I got to get this
Hey,
book.
dude.
I got to get this book. I'm gonna order it as soon as we
Well,
wrap up
I'm
here
I'm giving
today.
it away for free, so you don't have to go too much of a stretch there, my friend. And so basically, it gives the big broad strokes of how we do what we do. And it's like, how to set up your podcast and how to appeal to your ideal target avatar and how to find
Yeah,
them, how to get them on the show and how to do the whole interview and how to convert that interview into a discovery call and that
yeah,
discovery call into a warm commitment, the whole
yeah,
process. Go through it in big broad strokes, pretty short book, 68 large print pages in a PDF. And
yeah.
again, yeah, if people want to get that, it's at 20accreditedinvestorsbook.com. Again, that's the number 20 accreditedinvestorsbook.com. And the reason I wrote the book was to kind of educate people about this concept because this
Yeah.
is this is new, this is different. I mean, you and I have been in the podcast world for a long time and been doing this
Yeah.
for a long time, and a lot of people haven't heard of this concept of using a podcast as a direct lead generator. So I want to educate people with case studies in the book and examples and all that kind of stuff as to how this can work for them. And then selfishly, if they're interested in getting it done quickly and efficiently, that's exactly what we do. Is we help these folks. We build out their podcasts. We fill it up with their ideal avatar. We help them convert those interviews into discovery calls and then into commitments. And we do all the nitty-picky production and content creation and editing work for them.
I love it. And, Dave, we talked about this earlier, but, whether you're raising money or you've got a high ticket sales item or you're a coach, this type of person, this is a great concept. I mean, look, you and I have been doing it for 7 years, as you mentioned. And that's why I wanted to have you on, because you've walked the walk. You didn't just come up with this concept. You've actually been using it yourself and building that out. So if you're listening today, you want to learn more about Dave and what he does and how he can help you out, check out 20, accreditedinvestorsbook.com. We'll have that in the show link. And Dave, always great to see you from our neighbors up there in the north.
Chris, always a pleasure. Thanks for having me on your show, buddy.
Thank you. Hey, Chris here again. I hope you found this episode valuable. Now, I have one more thing to gift you. We have a page for my coaching clients where you can get a free copy of my book, as well as much more from previous guests on the show. Just check out nextlevelincome.com/coaching to get a free copy of my book, audiobook, and much more. I'll send you a copy of my book and cover all the shipping costs as a thank you for listening to the podcast. Also, please like, share, and take just 90 seconds to give us a rating on Apple Podcasts.